Can I call you back?
Thank you all for joining us this afternoon. My name is Yolanda Kokai. I am the Senior Director of Corporate Communications for Mueller Water Products. We own Henry Pratt
Thank you.
here in Aurora, Illinois. In just a moment, our CEO, Scott Hall of Mueller Water Products, will be making a brief statement about yesterday's tragic incident. We've also set aside time to answer a handful of questions. Also joining us today is Steve Jones, Directing Business Representative for IAM District 8. While we will make every effort to answer questions, because we are continuing to work closely with the Aurora Police Department as part of their ongoing investigation, we will not be able to answer specific questions about ongoing police matters. Following this conference and throughout the weekend, Scott will be meeting with the victims and their families and other members of the community. I'll now turn the podium over to Scott.
Thank you, Yolanda. So Friday was basically the worst day our company has ever had. Tremendous emotional event at not just our one facility here in Aurora, but reverberating through our entire manufacturing footprint. We are hurting right now. The families of Russ, Clay, Josh, Vicenta, and Trevor are also grieving right now. And we still have one colleague in the hospital. I understand he will be let go hopefully in the next few hours. So that will be good news. And we are thinking of him and his family, along with the families of the victims. In Aurora and at all of our locations, we are offering counseling and other employee assistance programs. In the days and weeks ahead, we will be reviewing every aspect of this tragedy and the steps we need to ensure this horrible incident is never repeated. And we're assessing if there is anything we could have done or could do in the future. I would also like to say I'm very thankful to the first responders from the city of Aurora who showed tremendous bravery in a very harrowing situation in 4 minutes after the first shot was fired at our facility. And I also like to wish them a speedy recovery from their injuries and wounds. I recognize that there are a lot of questions at this time about the gunman and his background. We can confirm that the individual was being terminated on Friday for a culmination of various workplace rules violations in accordance with our agreement. I can also confirm that we conducted a background check when the employee was hired 15 years ago, which did not surface his prior felony conviction in Mississippi. Just like the local authorities, we are still in the process of learning more about his history and background. But that's not where our focus is right now. While I understand there's a tremendous amount of interest in his background, our focus is on the men and women that are our employees and on the families of the victims. We are trying to do everything we can to assist them and help them with their grief at this terrible time. Again, we understand that there are many questions that are unanswered at this time. We're going to focus on the families, and I'm going to open it here in a moment to discuss, but I want to try and, if we can, focus as much as we can on the next 48 hours or so, because that's how we have constructed our response teams. Before I head out to meet with family members who I've set up after this meeting, I'd like to open the floor for some questions. So, go ahead.
Can you go into examples of these violations that he was being terminated?
No, I really, I've looked at some of the write-ups, but I haven't got enough accurate information. I would not be comfortable at this point trying to characterize them all. I think that as we go through it, more importantly, we'll share that with the police because I think they still need to get to motive. They're better prepared to do that than us, I think.
Did he show up for work that morning? Did he work a little bit and then get called into the office? I mean, what was his?
That is the timeline as I understand it, yes. that,
So he was on the floor working?
He was working, yeah, yeah.
Was
And
he warned that he was going to be terminated?
Prior to, I have no knowledge of that.
Were Byers and Juarez in the meeting room?
I'm gonna, as it relates to the crime scene, I can tell you, who would normally be involved in the dismissal procedure. Byers would be. But as to who else was, where they were in the facility while the shooting took place, I can't comment on that. I think the police would have a better idea.
Are
Do
there
you allow
security
guns in the
cameras
facility?
throughout the building?
We have security cameras for the outside of the building. We do not have security cameras on the inside of the building.
Do you allow guns in the facility?
We do not.
Sir,
Is there a security procedure when you go in the door, like a metal detector? or anything
There is
like
not.
that? Was there any special procedures taken with respect to firing someone, knowing that those situations can potentially be volatile?
No, we operate 7 plants. I think the answer to that question is that we will look over the next days and weeks at what we could have done differently, and I'm sure in a tragedy like this, we will find many things that were shortcomings. I'd like to reiterate that really what's more important is the 5 individuals, sorry, who lost their lives that day. And when we do a full accounting of what we could have done different or should have done different, we'll have a more complete picture at that time. But I'm not going to get into saying, well, does this make sense or does that make sense? I think we're at a point where manufacturing environments are places we want people to want to come to work.
Sir,
We want that.
To follow up on that question that I asked earlier, was it the company's intention to fire him that day and at some point call him in? I mean, why did he even start the day working instead of being called into the office and dismissed?
Yeah, once again, I think you're getting into the motive aspect of this and in the timeline, and I'd like to leave the police with that to put together.
What was the
if I may.
size of the meeting room, estimate dimensions?
I haven't reviewed that.
Are you gonna reopen Monday?
We will have all of our employees, starting tomorrow at 1 o'clock, we'll have counselors on site. We'll begin our supervisory training tomorrow afternoon. All employees will be welcome back, with or with pay, Monday. Whether we produce anything Monday or not, is highly unlikely we'll produce anything, and then we'll work with Steve and his grief team and our counselors, and we'll come up with a go-live program over the next several days to get the facility back.
As you have read over some of the briefings of the workplace violations, did you see any indications that he could be violent?
I did not.
Was
How many
it
people were
standard
in-
practice to have interns in the room when an employee is terminated?
It's a really tough question. I don't think we had thought about that, ever.
Would he have
We've had interns for.
So,
Would
how
he have
many?
had a chance to go back to his car from the time that he finished working and then was called up to the office, or go home potentially? Would he have had enough time?
I think, once again, the timeline, I can tell you what I know. 124 was the first shot. 128 was the 4 originating officers that came in. He was still active then, so he, no.
When is the typical day shift time?
7 to 3, yes.
Since his mother had said that he had been depressed and distraught, and that he thought that he was going to, she thought that he had lost his job 2 weeks before, does that mean that he had been told something to let him believe that he would be terminated in the future?
That is something that we're investigating from those comments as we speak. That we're aware of the comment, and we're doing our best to investigate what the series of events were.
Was he on any kind of, like supervision or warning protocol? A
We
discipline
have
protocol?
a progressive discipline process. And so in order to be at the final steps, you would have been through previous steps.
Is there any kind of counseling procedure that exists if somebody's in distress?
We have employee assistance programs. Steve has employee assistance programs. You can either access counseling through the company program or through the union program. All employees have that ability.
Sir, how many people were in the building at the time?
In the building in question, we believe there were 9 people.
Just 9 total people?
Yeah, wasn't the main assembly facility, it was the warehouse across the street. The Archer facility is smaller.
Can you speak to just the general type of violations that we're
No,
talking about?
I really can't. I'm gonna ask the police to say that they think that that's part of what they need to understand how this built up. They want to get to motive. We're not gonna comment on the nature of the progressive discipline process.
But are we talking about being late, or are we talking about potentially violent things? I mean, there's a big difference between those two.
You've asked the question about violence, I'll try to answer it.
Were
Sorry.
there any women in the area? It was only men that were shot and only men that were killed. Were there any women? You said there were 9 people.
Not to my knowledge.
Had the company conducted an active shooter drill recently?
I would like to say at this time that the team did implement their training. Immediately upon hearing the gunshots, I've been told that the Highland facility disabled all card readers except for those that were known card readers. They went into their lockdown in position. They remained there at the police's direction for quite some time. I think that the procedures were followed that we had put in place. Lockdown in place, but only at the one facility.
Does the company?
Last question, please.
Thank you.
Does the company have a protocol for when they dismiss somebody as far as security concerns of somebody acting out? Is there something in place for the HR person to be aware of that whoever it might be might act out when they're fired?
Not sure how to answer that. I can say that if we have reason to believe somebody is going to be violent, we take precautions. I can only assume that we did not.
Can you describe the type of work that Mr. Martin did?
That was the final question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all for your questions. As we mentioned earlier, our focus right now is on supporting our Mueller community. Scott is headed out to continue to meet with the families of the victims and our colleagues. Also, for your awareness, we posted a letter on our website that Scott has sent out to our employees, and there are hard copies available throughout the room. Thank you again.
Can you spell his last name?
How do you spell his name?
Last name for Scott Ball?
How
Last
do you
name
spell